members. Water and mud cause rust and damage to the rewinding mechanism, so we wanna keep them clean as we wind them back up. Rules, folding wood rule and a plumber's rule. Everybody's seen these type rules. A lot of times they're called a zigzag rule, because you can make them in a zigzag. The plumber's rule, which we don't have one in here, has standard inches on one side and has a 45-degree scale on the other side. So you could actually take that plumber's rule, and if you have an offset and you're doing a 45, you can measure between those offset and it will give you that length of the length of the offset. So, can be handy, but we'll learn the math way of doing 45-degree offsets in here, so.
Is that the only reason they call it 45-degree offset, because the numbers are going the other way, so it's easier to read, or is there something else? Cause I kept looking at it, I couldn't see any other difference, because
Well,
they all line up.
it's a 45, no it doesn't. 45-degree scale,
Oh.
1 inch lines up with about, what is that, about seven,
Three-quarter inch.
No, that's over.
11/16 or so. So, yeah. Yeah, see, 5 and 7 line up kinda close. So, yeah, the 45-degree scale side it doesn't line up with the inches on the other side. You see it now?
Yeah, I see it, I just don't know.
Well, see, when you got a triangle, 45-degree offset. Let's see, let's do it this way. You have a pipe run this way, 45, then you got a pipe run this way. So, if you was to take that 45-degree scale side and measure that distance, what you measure from here to here on this 45-degree scale side would be the length from here to here. So you measure center of the pipe to the center of the pipe, and it will give you the center of the fitting to the center of the fitting on that run.
But it's not gonna have your takeoffs on there.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta take those off.
You gotta take off for the fittings depending on what type of fittings you're using, what size and all that.
Or you could just measure your set, right, which would be that, side of the triangle, and then multiply by 1.414, right? Should be
Right,
the same thing.
yeah, you would just
Minus
measure
your
this
offset.
on a regular rule, and then, times 1.414, that gives you a 45-degree offset. Okay, yeah, and that's how we'll be doing 45-degree offsets in here. But if you had the plumber's rule, which they are blue, then you could just hold up that 45-degree scale side and you're done.
So it'd be a pretty good idea to get hold of one of those. Let's take a
Well-
look at the scores.
I doubt it.
I wanna look it up. Going through stores.
Yeah, well, it'd be good if you're doing a lot of 45s.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're in the field, actually, they'll have the two pipes running there and they'll hold fittings and actually just hold and measure. You know, whatever that, they don't even go with the math, so. Alright. Care of a folding rule, avoid dropping, keep clean, lubricate your joints. You see this metal brass slide?
Yeah.
You know what that's for? To give you an extra 6 inches. It's actually for inside dimensions. If you was gonna be measuring between a wall to wall, or doorway to, inside the doorway, you could fold it out and then slide that out to where you're touching on both sides.
Oh, okay.
Because if you unfold it one more time, then you're gonna be one inside, one outside. Okay, So this would be for measuring in between two pieces. In between two walls, what have you. Alright, but these are typically only 6 foot long, so, you don't use that very often. Might use it in a closet space, you know, if you was doing trim work or something like that, you needed a measurement of your trim, you'd use it there. Squares, tri-square, combination square, and framing square. Tri-square, I commonly refer to it as a pocket square. This one is good for marking 90-degree angles, but it also has a 45-degree shoulder on it. So you can actually put it on that shoulder and mark the 45. Combination square, good for 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles. It has a nut here that you can slide that bar either direction. Not my personal preference because they tend to wear out. They're not as true as the tri-square or framing square. And the framing square is, I believe it's 24 by 18. So it's laying out larger right angles. A lot of times we'll use square clips with them on the construction side as far as doing stair risers, rafters and so forth. Plumbing side, we put it up against the wall so we can square out to where our water closet's gonna be at 12.5 inches away from the wall. Okay. Carat squares, we wanna avoid dropping them, prevent rust, and all moving parts. All right, yellow keel. Yellow keel is good for galvanized black and cast iron pipe, copper and plastic. It's a wax-based marking tool, kind of like a crayon. Doesn't leave a very sharp mark when you're marking with it. Soapstone, good for galvanized black iron and cast iron pipe. Soapstone will file, sand down to a sharp point. Y'all probably use those at work very regular. Pencils work good on copper. Regular chalk works good on cast iron and steel. Again, you're not getting that fine mark, but we're not very few times will you be real particular on lengths when you put pipes together. So what's the name of this tool and what's the use for it? Tape measure, what do you use? Measure stuff. It's a yo-yo. Tape measure, measure distances, keep clean, dry, kink free. What's this?
Plumber's rule.
Plumber's rule. It's good for measurements
45,
and 45-degree offsets. Do not drop lubricate joints. Tri-square, or what did I call it?
Pocket square.
Pocket square. Yeah, fits in your pocket good. They make them in 6-inch long and 8-inch long. So it's lay out 90-degree angles, but this will do a 45. Not all tri-squares will do a 45, but this one will. Keep clean and dry, prevent rust.
Combination square.
Combination square. 90s, 45s, keep clean and dry, lubricate moving parts.
Frame square.
Frame square, lay out 90-degree angles or any angle. If you've got square clips to attach, it gives you shoulders so you can adjust it. Alignment tools. All right, plumb is vertical. Level is flat, horizontal. So if you're gonna say I'm gonna level that wall, then you're laying the blocks level. If you're gonna plumb that wall, then it's gonna be straight up and down. If you're gonna plumb a doorway, it's gonna be straight up and down. Okay? A lot of people get those mixed up. You just taking pictures of all of them? Are you videoing?
It's a little both.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I signed the waiver. Level, popular lengths, 2 foot and 4 foot, metal versus wood. They come in both, you know, metal prevent rust. They do have some wood ones that are, that's got almost a aluminum or steel I-beam in them. The wood ones are more of the older style. Laser level, this is, for vertical, horizontal, and 45-degree valves. Laser beam for alignment, measuring elevations, okay? Got the on-off knob on this end, laser shoots out that end, so when you've got it sitting on something level, then whatever that distance is where that's gonna be pointed out. Not a very common tool, never used one, never needed to own one, so. Torpedo level or pocket level. Horizontal and vertical, convenient to carry in a pocket, typically about 9 inches. If you wanted to get a good pocket level, and it might be harder to find nowadays than it was before, you wanna get a 12-inch version of this from Craftsman. So, you know, Sears is all gone, you can still order stuff online, and an air bubble. Okay? That air bubble, when it's put between those two lines evenly, means that it's plumb or level, depending on which one you're looking at. Plumb valve, level valve, okay? Or 45-degree valve, if it's in between these two, and you're at 45 degree. Plumber's valve is the same size, but it has 5 lines. They're marked 0, 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2.
That tells you the pitch.
Tells you the pitch or the fall, okay? My brother hates this valve, cause he can't ever work it. He's an electrician. So, that, when the leading edge is on the 0, is level, okay? As you move down, leading edge on the 1/8, was that Mary? You tried it on the door? Try the next one. Somebody tries that door. Alright, when that leading edge is on the 1/8, then you got an 1/8 inch fall per foot. Alright, then you've got 1/4 inch fall per foot and so on. In Kentucky, we prefer between an 1/8 and a 1/4. We want an 1/8 or a 1/4 on all our grain lines. Alright, so we have at least an 1/8 inside, 1/4 is mandatory outside. Okay, everything outside should be a 1/4 inch fall per foot. Everything works great with the 1/4 inch fall per foot, so we use that inside as well. The only time that we would use an 1/8 inch fall per foot is when we're trying to conserve headroom. We've got a low ceiling anyway, and we're trying to keep the pipes tight to the floor joist, so we'll put an 1/8 inch fall so it won't drop down below the lowest point.
1/8 inch still works, but it's
Yes.
just for
Yeah.
clearance.
Yeah. Yeah, 1/8 inch is still flow, and we use it inside because we can access it and get to it and fix a problem if you have that. When you get it in the ground, you don't know what the ground's gonna do, so we keep a 1/4 everywhere. Okay, so we want that leading edge. So, and we always want our 0 downstream. Okay, so when you set it down and you put that 0 downstream and then you raise it up to get your 1/4 fall per foot, then you'll know. Okay? Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know how many that was, but. We can take a 4-foot standard level that only has a level valve and turn it into a plumber's level. You cut a 1-inch block, tape it to the end of the level, gives you a 1/4 inch of fall per foot, okay? As long as you've got that block downstream, and you hold your level to level, then you'll have your fall, okay? Or a half inch for an 8-inch culvert foot. Let's see. Some 4-foot, you can find, every once in a while, you'll find a 2-foot or a 4-foot level that will have one. Drop them, you wanna protect the valves from breaking, and you wanna keep wood levels dry, so they don't, warp, store in a secure place. This is not something you just wanna toss in the back of your truck and let it bounce around there all day long, cause they are delicate, and some of them do have adjustments on them, some of them don't, but, some of the higher dollar ones can actually be recalibrated to be right, so. Alright, builder's level and transit, alright? Builder's level is for elevations and horizontal angles. Okay, horizontal angles is 90 degrees this way, or whatever angle in between. A transit, which this is a transit, is for elevations, horizontal angles, and vertical angles. Transits are typically used more for surveyors when they've got to deal with hillsides and everything else. Builder's level is primarily what we're looking at when we're gonna use it for plumbing. We'll just, as we go down our length of pipe, then we add or subtract depending on how we're sloping our pipe to determine that level. We will use a builder's level in here and I'll show you how to set it up and show you how to read it, and we may even drill holes to get our fall to show you how it works. Line level needs to be thrown away, used for a desk weight maybe. String line must be taut, angle level near the center of the string line. It is less accurate than the transit level, and it's less accurate than anything. Alright, if you've got a sag in your line, it's not gonna be correct if it's two sides, to one side or the other. It's only good for about that long. Alright, you could put it on a straight piece, if you have straight timber and use it that way. I would never use it on a string. Can't get your string tight enough, so. Water level. Probably the most accurate level that you could ever use. You probably never use it, but I have used it. They actually built the pyramids with water level. You got hose in between, two clear sections on each end. You wanna fill it up, make sure there's no air bubbles in it. You've got where you would use this is, say, in this room, you wanted to put a drop ceiling. Okay, you want a drop ceiling in the whole room. Well, if you had a transit level, then you're gonna have to set up one time to see back in that corner, but then you can't see back in that corner. So, water level, you can actually have your mark, and then as you raise and lower the end, it'll bring that water up to your mark, and then you mark the water on the other side. Water will always seek its own level. Alright, that's the properties of water, it's always gonna seek its own level. So you've got to, so it's always gonna be level all the way around as long as there's airflow on both sides. They talk about a vent cap. You can if you put a cap on one of these ends, it's like pulling that straw up out of a glass. Put a cap on it, that water's gonna stay in there. So we cap one end, so we can move around, so we're not losing all our water. So we get to our other side, pull the cap off, and then allow it to settle, get this level, and get to this point. And that's actually when we used a water level, was to put it in a drop ceiling. And we was able to mark every corner, it takes two people, because you gotta have one reading the other one on the other end. They do make a electronic laser or a water level. You would put this on your mark, wherever your starting mark is. It would have a clamp on the end that you're moving with, so you could, pinch it off so you can move. As you turned it on, as you raise and lower, it's gonna give you an audible tone, so you'll know when your water is dead on that spot, and then you can mark it. So, they do have a one-person water level. Will you ever see it? Oh, maybe not. Saw it here. Plumb bob. Plumb bob is used for
Vertical.
vertical alignment. We can use these to, mark holes from one level to another. The most common time that I would use this was when I'd be bringing a vent stack up to a sloped roof. I would put the string on the sloped roof, I would move it until my plumb bob's in the center of that pipe. Then I could mark that hole and drill that hole at an angle, go up, and I'm plumb up and down. So, works very well for that. Also, sometimes surveyors will use a plumb bob hanging from the bottom of their transit or builder's level on a survey pin, so they'll start out exactly on this spot, and then they can measure angles from that spot once they get lined up. So, chalk line. It's good for long straight lines on smooth surfaces. The chalk box, it holds the chalk. You've got about 100 foot of line inside. As you pull it out, it's coated with chalk. You lay it down, pull it tight, snap from the center, gives you a good straight line as long as you hold it straight up and down. Go sideways, you're gonna have several lines. Secondary use for a chalk line is a rudimentary plumb bob. Most chalk boxes will hang like a plumb bob, string out of it, and do have a point or some type of point at the bottom, so it will work as a plumb bob, most of them. Carry the chalk box, reattach the metal clip, add the chalk, keep dry, replace the string. Please don't add the chalk when the line's all the way out, because if you do, then the line's not gonna fit as it goes in. Fair warning. But if it does get wet, then, chalk cakes on it, you gotta pull it out, let it dry out, and hopefully it works again, so. Compass and dividers, this is what every kid in school had to have and would poke their buddy in the first day of school, because everybody had to have one. Marking circles and measuring, in between small distances. You can make a pencil compass for larger arcs, get the center of the circle, tie a string around a nail, and you can draw your circle that way. As long as you don't allow that string to start wrapping around your nail or your pencil, so. What's this do?
Level.
Level, alright. What's it for?
Level.
Checking level or plumb, protect the valves, avoid dropping, and keep a wood level dry. What's this?
Laser.
Laser level. Check level and plumb, projects the beam of light, protect the valves and avoid dropping. Torpedo level, or pocket level. Check level and plumb, protect the valves and avoid dropping. Alright, back on levels. What is another name for what is an old time name for a level? What was the word that came in front of level? You ever heard of a spirit level? They were called spirit levels. Why do you think they were called spirit levels?
Cause they had alcohol in them.
That's right. The valves had alcohol in them. The original levels, valves had alcohol in them. So that we didn't have any, wouldn't freeze. Now it's kind of a glycol mixture. So some of the old time spirit levels, the bubble gets bigger because the alcohol disappears for some reason. No, it's just joking. But it did have alcohol, and that's spirit level, yes, so. Let's see, this is a transit level. Alright, good for elevations, horizontal, and vertical angles, keep clean, avoid dropping, lubricate moving parts. Plumb bob. Establish vertical line, protect the point, make sure it stays sharp. Chalk line. Mark straight lines, place chalk lines needed.
Compass.
Compass. Draw arcs and circles, sharpen the points. And the best is always to have those 2 points the same length. Okay, that way you get the same, that's what they always said, is to have those 2 points the same length, so you won't be off on your angle. Cutting tools. Alteration to the structure to allow pipes to pass through. Common cutting tools for a plumber: saws, files, wood chisel, coat chisels, aviation snips, pipe cutter, saw pipe cutter, internal pipe cutter. Saber saw, or a jigsaw. Alright, used for cutting thinner material, typically less than 1.5 inches thick. Arcs, curves, whatever you wanna do with this. What is this?
Saber saw, sawzall.
It is not a sawzall because it's a tiger, alright? It is a reciprocating saw.
Same action.
Reciprocating action. It does the same job as a sawzall, but only Milwaukee makes sawzalls. I will count it wrong on the test. Cause you've been warned.
Reciprocate.
There's plenty of tools that we're gonna go through that have company names attached to them that, are only for that company. We've got multiple different types of blades, lengths, amount of teeth that are, in the blade themselves. We're doing rougher, cuts with this, but we can do, larger, diameters, circles, arcs, curves, and, we're doing thicker material, 1.5 inches and greater. Compass saw. We wanna protect the teeth during periods of use. Where would you use a compass saw?
In a hole.
So, yeah, you jab through drywall, does have a sharp point. A lot of drywallers will use this to poke through and saw through, and you can make a curve, turn and cut through drywall. Hacksaw and blades. Hacksaw blade characteristics: long, length, flexibility, set of the teeth, coarseness. Hacksaw and blades, and this goes for pretty much any type of blade. You've got set to the teeth. Alright, the set to the teeth means teeth are set on one side of the blade or the other. Why would we want set to our teeth? So our blade won't bind. It's gonna take out more material than the blade needs. So if we had no set to the teeth, then as we go through, we're making the same line and we're gonna start binding on the top side of the blade, basically. So all saws will have some type of set. You got an alternate set, which every other tooth is right and left. You've got a raker set where you've got a center tooth that stays straight, kind of cleans out the center run, and then the second and third tooth are right and left. And then a wavy set, which is probably the cheapest way to make them. They just kind of bend a few here and there, okay? Coarseness of the teeth, the amount of teeth that you wanna have 2 teeth cutting at all times. Especially when going through thinner pipe, we want saw blades that have more teeth, or more teeth per inch. If you used the one on the right, you're gonna start jumping and jagging and it'll make a very rough cut, okay? Jab saw, okay? Jab saw is a smaller version of a hacksaw, okay? It'll use a standard hacksaw blade. Part of the blade goes in the handle. It's used for tight spaces, under cabinets where you don't have that room to move the entire hacksaw. A back saw and miter box makes accurate cuts on plastic pipe. A back saw, this is really not used anymore. Back saw used to be used for trim work. Back saw is a really tall blade that has a heavy spine that would run in a miter box. The miter box itself would carry that heavy spine to keep it straight back and forth, and you'd be able to get any angle with it, and that tall blade gives it, good for thicker material as well. Very fine tooth blade, but I haven't seen a back saw in years. I know, well, except for, the old ones that we own. I haven't seen one in a store forever, but, they are a good saw, but the evolution of the chop saw has taken place of the back saw and the miter box. Files, alright, length and file shape. You got a mill file, flat file, half round file, round file, and a triangular file. I've even seen hexagonal files, different angles. Let's see, where's that? Is that it? Nope. Damn it. What is tank?
It's for the handle.
The orange drink.
Orange.
Yes, that's where the handle goes. Should never use a file without a handle, okay? Files pattern of a file teeth, a single cut, double cut, curved tooth, or a rasp cut. Rasp cut are very rough, used for wood primarily. Degrees of files: coarseness, coarse, bastard, second cut, smooth, dead smooth, and the coarseness can be related to the length. Shorter ones are finer than the long one. Carry a file card, clean the teeth with a file card, protect the teeth during storage, prevent rust. You can use the bristles on the bottom, clean away the big material, and then you use those fine pieces to get in between the grooves themselves. Wood chisels, alright, used for trim openings and make notches. Blades vary from 1/4 inch to 2 inches wide. Sharpening, you wanna keep a wood chisel sharp. Why? Why do you want a sharp chisel?
Clean cut.
Why else? The sharper the chisel, the less force you apply. So the less force you apply, the safer it's gonna be, okay? Grinding angle is 25 degrees, honing angle is 25 degrees. You do not have to grind each time you hone. A lot of times you can just hone it and get it, have several cuts, and then hone it again, and it'll be just back to sharp, alright? Only really bad off blades need to be ground. Cold chisels. Cold chisels are, cold chisel maintenance, we grind to a 60-degree angle. There's our mushroom cap. Alright, we wanna remove that mushroom. It says safer there. I don't know why it's rounded like that on the top. Normally it's flat, but, might be just a picture. Why is it dangerous to have mushroom?
These pieces will fly off.
pieces will fly out, so we don't want that to happen. Could fly into your hand as you hit it down and go into your hand, or fly back into your eyes. What do we use the cold chisel for? Any? You don't, have you ever used a cold chisel?
Mm-mm.
More for metal, isn't it? It's cold.
You're gonna get to use a cold chisel tomorrow. You're not gonna like me tomorrow. You're really not. We can cut cast iron, pipe with cold chisel, hammer and cold chisel.
Mm.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun tomorrow. That's why I say bring your leather gloves. We also can, chip away concrete, concrete block, knock holes in concrete block. But old time plumbers, that's the way they cut their pipe, hammer and chisel. Alright, we wanna use a, ball peen hammer with a cold chisel, not a regular carpenter's hammer. Can anybody think of why? There you go, it's safer. The reason why is that, the way that the heads have been hardened between a ball peen and a carpenter's hammer, they've got a different hardness to them, and actually parts of the head will start breaking away if you drive, against another hardened steel object. Driving nails is fine, but when you take carpenter's hammer against a cold chisel, you'll see the face of the head start to flake away, so. Aviation snips, used for right, left, and straight cutting. There are 3 different types of aviation snip. One's I think red is right, yellow is straight, and green is left. Don't quote me on that, but there are 3 different color handles, and the right and left is how you're going through the material and how it folds away from the tool. So as you're cutting in one direction, you want it to fold a certain way so it stays out of your way and you can make that curve. That's why we have a right and left-handed, not for right and left-handed people. Okay. Use these for sometimes in metal studs, ductwork, vent pipes on water heaters, that type of thing. Alright, pipe cutter, has a cutting wheel and guide wheels and an adjusting screw. Let's see, pipe cutters are typically used for cutting steel pipe. Tubing cutters are used for copper pipe. There is a different hardness of the wheel. You can use a pipe cutter on copper, but typically it's gonna be a bigger size, and you'll end up having too much force, and you'll deform your copper. So that's why we have smaller sizes, just like we'll talk about pipe wrenches in a little while. So you want the 2 guide wheels. You wanna lubricate the guide wheels from time to time, make sure the cutter wheel is moving free. If the cutter wheel